Good morning, Jason from Bohemia Bees here, and we're going to do a quick update on a colony that it's got a pretty long story to it. You can see we're here in our second yard. This is our backyard. We do a lot of nooks, mediums, deeps, and you can see they're doing pretty well. These are a couple swarms that we caught. They are thriving pretty well. We do a lot of testing of various pieces of equipment and such here as well. You can see the bee guard down on this one on the end is doing very well. But we're going to talk about this colony here in between that's in one of these pro nooks. We relocated a colony from a client up in northern Delaware, Brock Vinton's home. He had a swarm, or really a colony that had nested itself within the eave of his house, and we wanted to make sure it didn't come back. And when we went to go inspect it, and I'll show you some prior videos, some prior pictures of it, we wanted to make sure that we got that out of there. And so we put a swarm box up just in case it came back, and it did come back. It came back pretty strong, but it came back without a queen. Lots of workers. We tried to relocate that into a colony, and it didn't necessarily take. It looked to be a lot of drone brood, which means we didn't have a laying queen. We had a laying worker. So we tried to resolve that issue first. Now we brought him back here in the apiary. We installed a queen a few days ago, and we're going to check out and see if she's at least been taken by the colony, accepted by the colony, and continuing to move forward. So it's a good day here in the apiary. You can tell it's the 4th of August, and this is that swarm colony that we caught, and they're bringing in some pollen from somewhere. These girls over here, I just saw a few of them fly in. They got stuff on their legs, you can tell, so that's good. There's pollen still out there that they're grabbing. But let's take a look at this colony here. All right, so we're gonna take a look and see if they've accepted the queen. What kind of activity we got in this one. There's not a lot of bees. We put some brood in here to kind of keep them. We're gonna see what we got. There's some brood that looks like they're working. Very light bees. Light amount of volume of bees, I should say. And then we're gonna flip to this side and see if we see, got some pollen stores there. I don't see the queen walking around just yet. She appears to be out of her queen cage. We're gonna take a spot for her. Some pollen stores in here, some brood in that frame, very light amount. We put and lots of activity around the queen cage that we had her in. They've released her. Hopefully they've accepted her, haven't killed her. That could happen too. This is just a frame we threw in. Really just looking for the queen to see what we have going on here. And not a lot of bees. So that's not, there wasn't many in that box, so let me see if I can see what we've got. I don't see our queen yet. Something tells me she absconded or was killed. It's not a good sign. See, she's still stuck in here. They're just not letting her out. Nope, they're just workers in there. I see a wax moth on the bottom down there. There she is. She's running around. Found her. So we got a queen in here now, and we found her. And she doesn't appear to be Where'd she run off to? I just had. I also see a wax moth, which means that's not a good sign for a weaker colony. Trying to locate our queen again. They're trying to keep this patch of brood maintaining that small bit of brood. There she is, right there. And she looks like she's laying in a cell. Little queen. Looks like they've accepted her. They're not beating her up anymore. That's a good sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put her back in here, and I'm going to actually find a frame of brood with some bees on it and put them in here, because I don't want wax moths to take over. And we'll come back. So let me locate a frame of brood. All right, so we've identified a frame in one of our other stronger colonies. This is the frame of brood we found. Got a lot of good pollen stores, more than 50% coverage on most sides. There's some nectar stores in here if it's light, and I'll probably start feeding these eventually. What we're going to do is we're going to take these are a lot of nurse bees on here, give us some volume of bees to work. We're going to add it to this colony. I removed the foundation frame, and we're just going to make a 3-frame nook. These bees will merge together into one colony. Take care of the brood will hatch out. Any of the foragers. All right, we'll check on that in a week. Jason here, about a week later on this nucleus colony, this 3-framer that we put together, and we want to try to do a couple things. We want to establish that the queen is laying, and then we're going to move it into more of a permanent box. We've got a box that we've going to move it into to start to kind of get prepped for winter. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's slowly take this lid off. And again, we're looking for eggs in this colony and the queen. So she should be here in the middle. And I see eggs in the middle there, which is a good sign. Very calm on the frames. We've got some pollen stores up top here. We're going to start to feed them here very shortly. They're collecting pollen. See if I can locate our queen. I don't see her on this frame. There she is down there. So she's marked and she's laying, looks like on a lot of cells. So we're going to go ahead and move these 3 frames over to this box. Again, there's our queen. Alright, so we're going to slowly take our frames. It's got some bees on it, lots of pollen stores that they're starting to build out. And we're going to put it in this box here. And our queen was on this frame here. She's in the middle. Lots of eggs on both sides of that frame. You may ask why we're moving it to this box. It's just a little bit more of a permanent box for them to overwinter in as we start to continue to build them out. We'll give them a feeder here. There's another step in the process. We'll let them orient in there, and I'll put that box out front just for a little bit so that they can make sure if they come back to that box, they'll start to orient into this box. So that's another step in the process on this colony that we're trying to build back. The next stage in this process is really to get some feed on this. So I'll do that here later today. All right, so we are now at day 14 of this nucleus colony. Again, you can see we've transferred it into a solid box. And we've installed one of the Guardian upper hive entrances on the whole entrance. So the only real entrance in this box is the Guardian on the front. And we have a vented screen hole in the back here, just for ventilation purposes. We put a feeder on top, a top hive feeder, as you can see. And the bees can come up and get their feed and go back down in the colony. We'll refill that before we close the video out in this check-in. One thing I want to do is just kind of take a look at the frames, see what we see, make sure the queen is still laying, and that they're taking that feed and putting it in stores. The feed we use naturally is a 2-to-1, and it's just really sugar and white granulated sugar with some Hive Alive in it. We put a little bit of that in it, very little, but that helps with the right nutrients and microbials that they need to help be a healthy hive. So let's take a look and see what they've got going on in the hive. Again, remember we have 3 frames here, and what I expect to see on these frames is they're a little bit heavier now. And as you can see, the glistening, you know, when I talk about a stronger colony and I say 50% coverage on your frames, this is 50% or more coverage, no less than this. If there's less bees than this on a frame, you need to reduce a frame. Flip to the other side and it's suspect, so we want to make sure that we are managing that. But this is now, this whole frame is heavy with nectar stores and pollen stores, so that's becoming their reserves, which is great. And then we're going to see what they're doing on these 2 frames. Good 50% coverage on that frame. Heavy with nectar stores all the way across. Not many open cells in the middle. And you can see bee coverage on this side as well, heavy on this side. So they're taking all those stores and they're putting them in the outside frames, which is what they should do. One thing we want to be cautious of is they don't start filling in all the spots for the queen to lay. So we're going to give them another frame today, but it's going to be foundation. I could give them drawn comb, but by giving them foundation, they'll draw that comb out slowly as they need to. The feed will help encourage them to do that. This is a triple waxed frame with black foundation, so it's easy to see the eggs. And I'm going to just take a quick peek here at this frame, a lot lighter of a frame. There's our queen, very easy to spot. And if we look down in the cells, there's larvae, eggs, in various stages down there. So that's good. Good pollen stores up around the top and nectar stores along the top. That's what they typically do. So this is a good nest starting here. She's running around determining where she wants to lay, putting more eggs in. You can see the eggs down there in the bottom. So I want to give her enough room, because my assumption is that she probably has laid eggs on this side as well. Good bee coverage on this side. I can't even tell, but if we peek through the bees, you can see there's a larva that they're keeping at a constant temperature. They're really working the brood on this frame that's been laid. There's eggs that will hatch out down here. These are all full. Every cell in this middle frame is full. And one thing you want to do is make sure the queen has a place to lay. So we've taken that that frame, slid it over. We will take that foundation frame, slide it in the middle, and then push those 4 frames together. When you're managing your colonies, just because you have a 5-frame box or just because you have a 10-frame box does not mean you need to put 5 or 10 frames in it. You can put 1 frame, 2 frames. Put enough frames in there where you have 50% or more bee coverage on a frame, unless it's foundation. Foundation typically doesn't need as much care and maintenance by the bees. They'll start to build out comb on it, but any open comb, if there's pollen stores in it especially, the small hive beetles and the wax moths will get at that very quickly, especially in the summertime. So make sure that you're doing that. Again, we're building this now out to a 4th frame. We're going to take our feeder, put it right back on top. And then we're going to put some feed into the top. All right. There should be enough in this ½ gallon to fill almost very full of this tray. This is about a ½ gallon tray. We'll take that and then we'll put our lid back on. And so a couple things are going to happen here real quick, just to recap. With that extra amount of feed in there, the bees will come up, they'll start to work that feed, bring it down, fill in the outer frames with any of the spots they've got that still need nectar filled out. A ½ gallon of that feed in a small nook like this on 2 frames were filled pretty quickly. So that's, the goal is to get this nook up strong, making sure that it has enough food stores, getting here closer to the end of the summer, and then naturally continue to build this colony out. We're getting on day 14. We can start checking our boxes. We've got 3 solid frames, 1 frame of brood, 2 frames of stores. We've inserted a frame of foundation. We've got a laying queen. She's marked, brood in all stages. No capped brood yet, but we're going to be capped brood here in probably another 5 to 7 days. So that's our checklist for this colony. Just giving you updates as we go along, and we'll continue to give you updates as we progress with the progress. Thanks for watching. All right, we're at day 16 and lots of continuous growth in this colony. I'll point out one of the activities happening here on the top. You can see these 2 bees working together to pull out a dead bee. Those are great VSH traits. They're basically keeping and cleansing the hive and making sure that it's hygienically clean. I'm going to take that bee away and dump it. And then that bee's going to come back to the colony. Sort of the Monty Python of bring out your dead, right? All right, let's take a look at to see if they're working or are working on this new frame we dropped in. All right, so only in a day you can see that they're already drawing the frame out, and it even looks like the queen has found some spots to lay. She will put it anywhere she can. This is a very prolific queen, and they're drawing out on this side as well. So good activity there. I won't break into it too much more. I'll let them continue on doing what they're doing. A little bit of burr comb on the side over here. That's because we don't have a frame in place there. Just break that out. Not a problem. All right, there's our quick overview of the colony. All right, we are at day 18 of the nucleus colony, and we're just checking the progression of it to see where we should have some good stores here, and hopefully some good progression on the brood. So let's check that out. All right, so we pulled this first frame out, and you can see it's solid, full packed with stores. They got that going on both sides. Very heavy neck. It's a syrup frame. I called it a nectar frame in the last update. It is actually syrup, which is actually honey. So they convert the syrup into honey. This outside frame here as well is also full, very heavy. You can see they're building their stores out, both sides. Very solid frame. This inside frame isn't as heavy because they only do it around the top edges, but you can see in the middle the progression of the brood. The larva is now progressing along very nicely. The eggs have hatched, the egg larvae is starting to grow, and the bees are tending to them. This side of the frame now is actually a good amount capped, which is great. Again, some progression of your brood. Nice nest here that's progressing. So we're hoping that these bees will continue to do that same progression. This single frame that we added, they're still developing and building out this side. This side is actually slow to come along, but they're still building that as well. Our queen is in here somewhere. We're not looking for her, don't need to. We know she's in here. Let's go ahead and close her up, and that's our update for day 18. All right, so we're checking in. It is now day 30 from trying to revive this nucleus colony. You can see it's fairly strong activity at the entrance. Bees are coming and going, appear to be bringing in some pollen, most likely the goldenrod, which is great. We're going to take a look inside to see how well they're doing, and kind of go from there. All right, so first signs, we can see very quickly that we've got 4 good solid frames. They've got good stores on the outside over here and over here. Hopefully these are both good brood frames right here. And they're gonna give us enough room to put another frame here in the middle. I got another frame that has some partial drawn comb on it. Continue to give them some room to build out. Good amount of bee volume in here, which is a good thing. It's always a good sign. We're still in a dearth, even though we've got some pollen, so you know, the bees tend to be a little bit more skittish and aggressive. It's a fairly heavy frame, at least a little bit, with nectar. They're capping it off. It's all full of nectar here. It's really syrup because I was feeding them. So this is great for their stores for the winter. That's what we want to see. Good heavy frame. Next frame in the middle here should be brood. Okay, so it doesn't look like she's got eggs in here. That's a great sign. We see in here she's got eggs. There's some capped brood now across. The eggs in every cell that's available. And then there's some capped stores along the top. Take a look at the other side. Looks like they just got capped stores.
So hopefully she's not worried about running out of space. That's why I'm going to put this other frame in here to give them a little bit more room to potentially expand. All right. So it looks like you've got, looks like she's laying in this one. So we got eggs all on this one, which is great. Big amount of stores along the back side here. Stores along the top, which is great. Haven't spotted my queen. Good pollen in here. We got larvae in all stages, capped brood. Fantastic frame. They've got pollen on their legs. So they're doing very well here. Very well. I hope this middle frame is also brood. Again, remember, this is only 30 days from almost nothing. That's a good sign. Good frame here. There's our queen in the middle, right there. She's doing a good job. They got stores around the edge, which is what they do. Brood in the middle, a lot of it's capped. Anywhere it's not capped, there are eggs, or she's laying eggs, and there she's laying an egg right now, so she's doing her job. Pollen along the edges. That's a great looking frame right there. Hopefully you can see that. On the other side, very similar. She's got eggs and larvae on that side as well, so good solid frame. A little bit of a, looks like we had a small hive beetle in there. We just got rid of that. I don't see any other ones. I only see one, which is a good sign. Great job. Lots of young bees in here, telling me that they're recently hatching out. She's doing her job. Make a little bit more room here. I'm going to take this frame, slide it in the middle, and then take my other frames and tighten it back up. And we're good. So now we've come from a single frame of about maybe a fistful of bees to now 5 frames, 2.5 with brood, capped, larva, eggs, all stages, 2 solid frames of stores for the winter. And I just inserted a new frame with empty comb to help to continue to build them out. So this is a good solid building nucleus colony in 30 days. So you can see what you can do with a little bit of nursing, a little bit of help for the bees, kind of move them along. You can pretty much turn nothing into something. And that's how we do that here at the Bohemia Apiary, where we focus on the bees, we focus on their needs, and we build out colonies, local genetics, and using sensible bee practices to help move these colonies and grow these colonies. So if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see more bee activities and videos. Share with your friends and continue to follow along as we do a lot of cool stuff here at the Bohemia Apiary, where beekeeping is more than a hobby. It's definitely an obsession. Thanks for watching.